Please welcome Ashley Bellevue, Senior Director of Employee, Executive, and Thought Leadership Communications.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see so many of you here so early after last night's party. Well done. Did everyone enjoy their time? Yes, I will not make you yeehaw. I am from Texas, but it makes me a little bit uncomfortable to make other people yeehaw. So I'll just go with that cheer. Thank you very much. Now, I hope you enjoyed Conchita and the party put on by our Be Proud community, but it's time to shake off the glitter and get back down to business, because we have some great sessions for you today. In a few moments, I'll host a conversation with our CEO, Glenn Fogel. You'll also hear from some of our industry leaders. You'll be able to take a choice of master classes between Booking.com, Google, TikTok, which I know you all use. And then, of course, stick around and you'll get to hear from Nigella Lawson this afternoon. So you're up for an amazing lineup today. But let's get to our first session. As you heard us talk about many times over the last 2 days, Booking.com is working to make travel easier, not only for our travelers, but also our partners. To do this, we're putting you all at the center of everything you do. And over the session so far, you've heard about our priorities, our progress, what we're looking to do next year. And now we thought we'd put it all into some context in a conversation where we look at the business, the economy, the travel industry as a whole. And no person is better to have this conversation with than our CEO, Glenn Fogel. So I would like to welcome Glenn to the stage. Welcome, Glenn. It's good to see you again.
It's nice to see you again, and it's nice to see everybody here.
Well, thank you for joining me today. I think we have a good 30 minutes together. Well, I'll ask you some questions, but there's also the app that I know you all have because I see the cameras. You can put your questions in the app, and if I have time at the end, I will go through and ask some of those from the audience, if that's okay with you.
It's fine.
Let's go ahead and get started. First question, how's business? Basically, looks like 2022 was a great year. You just had your earnings call, record-breaking even. What are your thoughts?
2022. It was a remarkable year for so many things. And remarkable can mean good, and it can also mean bad, and I think it really covers both. Because if we think back, beginning of the year, and I know it's hard to think back, so many things happened, but the Omicron variant had just roared up, and the number of cases, people being hot, is going like this. And we're like, oh my God, we thought we were getting out of this. But now it seems things are getting worse. And are we going to go back into lockdowns? What's going to happen? And then pretty rapidly, we all realized, wait a minute, okay, it's not as bad as the other one. Yes, a lot of people are getting ill, but they're not getting very sick. And it's coming down really fast. And in February, I did the earnings call for 2021, February 2022. I'm telling about the year of 2021. I'm telling our board about how we did. And a couple hours after we do our earnings call, the horror of Russia invading Ukraine.
The same day.
That night, a couple hours after we finished. And then, of course, tremendous horror for the people of Ukraine, but travel immediately, especially Eastern Europe, immediately. But then, in terms of the industry, let's stick to the industry, people said, okay, people said, I'm going to travel. And people going, I'm going to go to Europe. It's okay. People start going in, and I start talking to the team. I say, I think we're going to have a record year. We got to prepare. And I know many of you said, it's probably going to be pretty big. We got to prepare. So we're all preparing. And we get to the peak season, and we're ready, and the governments are not. And the airports are just incredibly, just completely can't get things done. And I'm waiting to get into Schiphol, coming from outside the Netherlands, going through immigration. I got 3-hour lines. And then to leave, it's 4 hours to get out. You're lined up all the way out and it's raining. It's like, this is horrific. So we were all, the industry was ready, the government's, so we forgot to hire some people. But of course you can't just hire right away. It took time, fine. We get through that and then we get into the fourth quarter and things are going well, but all of a sudden you start reading about, oh, there potentially could be a bad economy in the future and everybody starts getting nervous. So overall, like a roller coaster, ups and downs, but overall, very pleased with how we did.
I like the analogy of a roller coaster with highs and lows. What would you say your highest high and your lowest low was last year?
All right, so I did the earnings call recently, and we talked about a lot of good numbers, and we talked about record number of room nights, approximately almost 900 million. And we talked about record revenue. And we talked about the fact the fourth quarter, how wonderful it was that every region in the world was doing better for us than we did in 2019. That's all great. And those are things that the board of directors like to hear and shareholders like to hear. But what I said to our team, what I've said to everybody, that was not the best thing of the year. The best thing of the year, the thing that I am most proud of, was the fact when that horrible war started, our team got together and they said, how can we help? What can we do? We said, we're in the travel business. We have lots of partners who have accommodations. Maybe we could work with them. So we put together a platform, and many of you came forward and offered free, or if it couldn't be afforded, you went for very, very, very low price accommodations so that refugees fleeing a war zone, mostly, almost all, mothers and children, going out, and you all were putting inventory onto the platform we put up. So 75,000 refugees had a roof over their head. And I just want to say to everybody here, and this is going to be hard for me, Dokayu, which is Ukrainian, sort of. Thank you, because last night I was staying at the Radisson in Center City, a wonderful hotel I like to point out, and the two bartenders there, they're both Ukrainians. And I said, I wanted to say thank you, Ukrainian. And so they kept trying to help me say it. And like, they said, look, if you can get it right, we'll give you a free shot. I never got the free shot, but...
It's good for us now.
Well, I had to pay for my shots, is really what it was. A little different. I thought I'd get better if I kept drinking. It didn't.
No, it's not the way it works.
But I'm saying thank you, and I know every Ukrainian who was able to get a place to stay because of you. Thank you.
That's great. That's great. I hate to pivot on from that slightly, but I just wanted to, because last year you and I were on the Click stage together.
We were.
And we had a similar conversation, in fact, where we also talked about the priorities that you had set for 2022.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about the connected trip, a lot about things like alternative accommodations.
Yep.
Thought it'd be a good idea. This group has already heard us share a lot of things, but wanted to hear from your perspective. What progress have we made? Do you feel like we've made substantial progress in the year against those?
I think we've made tremendous progress, and of course this is a two-way thing. We can't do it alone, we have to do it with our partners, of course. But so I'll start right off where I made and this started a few years ago, I said we want to do more than just accommodations. And we said flights, we want to be in the flight business. And we now, nobody ever laughs. I like to say, we've really taken off now, but nobody laughs, but I like to keep saying, I'm going to keep saying it.
You and I have the same humor.
Yeah. My kids like dad jokes, you just got to stop. But we've really made, the numbers last year, I think it was about approximately 61% year over year. Very, very good. And the thing that I really love about it is it's offering more opportunities for people to choose flights. One of the things that people sometimes feel is like, I got to go to the airline. They don't. They can come to us. Yep. Next thing is really good. We're trying to make sure that it's not just the way it used to be. We used to be accommodation you had to pay at the desk. But we said, a lot of people, they want to pay a different way. Maybe they want to use Alipay, WeChat Pay. Maybe they want to use whatever, a different way to do it. And our partners can handle it. We should have a payment platform. In addition, we can do it so it's cheaper for the accommodation and them doing it themselves. We can make it so there are less cancellations. We can do it so there's less overhead burden in the trying to process all the stuff. Things that will make it easier for our partners and make it cheaper for our partners and be able to get them more demand. So payments, very important for us, and we've really made some great progress there. About 42% or so of payments of our bookings were being done through payments at Booking.com. Very pleased with that. Also, some other areas, obviously attractions. Nobody goes to a location because they want to just stay in the room. They want to go do stuff.
Yep.
So giving them accommodation, building that out. And for car hire or car rental, depending on, if you're British, it's car hire, the rest of the world is car rental. We're beginning to come up with ways that we can do sponsored listings so people can get more demand that way. So many things we're doing, but there's still a lot more to do.
Yeah, and what about in the alternative accommodation or vacation
absolutely.
rental space?
Very big there too. We obviously in Europe, and you all who are here in Europe know that we have a very competitive product in alternative accommodations here. But we're not seen as competitive in places like the United States. So one of the key things for us is making sure that we can compete as well in that area as we do here. And that means finding out, well, what's the problem? Well, one thing is our product wasn't as good.
Yep.
And our partners would tell us why. They say, you got to do this. So payments being an example was one thing. And all sorts of the onboarding is very difficult. So we started doing that. And of course, demand. Because just because you have supply doesn't mean you're going to get a sale. People have to know about that you have this product. And people know here in Europe that we have a great alternative accommodation product. In the States, you walk down New York City, you say, I need an apartment, or I need a house on the beach, and say, what can I use? The chances they would say Booking.com 2 years ago, like zero.
Yeah.
They'd
Well, in
say,
fact, they don't say they need a house on the beach. They say they need an Airbnb on the beach.
yeah, they would
Sorry.
say that. Yeah, we don't use that word here. Let's not use that word. But it's true. So we're spending a lot of money on demand. And that means brand advertising. So we spent a lot of money, TV advertising, Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is this people don't know in America, it's a game, they call it football. The foot rarely hits the ball, so God knows why it's called football. But so it's a very big thing, and we did that. We did it again this year. And the Oscars, we just did a big ad. So we're going to have demand come to that too.
Nice.
That's really important.
Nice. I'm going to stick on the topic of competition because there's obviously a lot of competition within the space that Booking.com operates in, like Expedia, for instance, or the other company that shall not.
Okay, now use that word.
Getting hot. I'm literally hot.
Competitor A and competitor E.
Got it.
So that was...
All right. So we've got competitor A and competitor E, for example.
For example.
But you also reported Q4 results when I was listening to the earnings call that showed Booking Holdings had an edge actually over these two when it comes to performance. What do you think differentiates your platforms from these two?
Yeah, you know what it...
I'm learning.
That's good. That's good. All right, so, and I get this question from investors too. Why are your numbers going up so much compared to those two? And the thing I say to them is, say, look, one of the things I think we're doing really well, or at least better, is talking to our partners. This business doesn't work. It does not work unless we are a partnership. And I said, I think we're doing a better job than maybe in the past we did of listening to the partners and trying to meet what their needs are. And by working together, we can create more business for the both of us. And I think that's coming through. And they'll say like, yeah. But what's the real thing you're doing? And I'm like, no, that is it. And they walk away saying, that's not it. But they're bankers. They don't understand customer centricity at all. But I believe that is the biggest thing. And I think that is what has helped us. There's so many little things, but the important thing is they come from the conversations that we're having with you with how can we make your business better? Because if your business is better, our business is better.
Nice. We've been looking behind 2022. Now let's look ahead. And you mentioned it a little bit earlier about the uncertainty around the economy, cost of living crisis, layoffs in big tech, the shakeup in the banking industry, and so on and so on. Seems like folks are a little spooked. So what are your thoughts overall on the economy?
Well, we know people are spooked. I mean, I don't know if you watched what went on in America 2 weeks ago at the 16th largest bank in America, Silicon Valley Bank, which is the big bank for the tech industry. I mean, they kind of own that market in California, and it was, everything was fine, everything was fine, everything was fine. Oh my God, all the money's gone. I mean, that's because there's that uncertainty, that lack of trust. And to see that happen at the same time here in this part of the world, Credit Suisse, which it wasn't an overnight thing. I mean, they've been dying for 2 years or so, but it's just horrible. And these things make people nervous, which is understandable. And the concern is, inflation was out the gazoo, and then all these interest rates are going up, and people start getting a little bit nervous about the future. But I say this over and over again, is look, nobody can predict the future. And I don't know what's gonna happen going down the road. But I do know this, two things I'm fairly certain of because of history. One is people would rather not eat than not travel, okay? That's the first thing, you just see that. People, the top of mind is, I want to do my holiday.
Yeah.
Very important. The second thing is that in the long run, sure, there'll be ups and downs, but travel is going to expand better or faster than the overall economy. So maybe there'll be a dip, maybe there won't be a dip. Either way, my job is to continue to provide a better service to our customers, who are the travelers and the partners. Continue to do a better job for them, and in the long run, over 10 years, the ups and downs will even out, and the growth will be a little bit bigger than the GDP, and we'll do well.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Will that travel boom that you saw in 2022 continue?
Well, over 10 years, it's going to average out. The question everybody wants to know is, but what about next week?
Yeah.
Or next quarter? Or 2023? And I'll say, what do I know? The economists can't figure it out. These experts who told us it was going to be this, it ends up being that. Who remembers the Federal Reserve person saying, inflation is transitory. It's transitory. Oh, never mind about that. It's not transitory at all. We're going to raise interest rates up to here. And so who knows? I'm not going to go out and throw a dart. Everybody gets to throw a dart. I don't want to throw a dart because I don't know. I know I don't know. But I do know what I've got to do is work with you. Make sure that our teams are talking to you. So if things do go south, if things end up not being as good as you thought they should be, work together. Let's work together the way we did coming out of the pandemic, when we definitely were able to come up with ways together to get you as much of the demand that was there. We can't force people to travel, but if they are going to travel, we can do everything we can to make sure they travel with you. And that's by working together. All the different programs that we do them together, and we'll get the much demand as we can to them.
Get as much demand as possible.
As much as possible.
Yep. Okay. Well, speaking of this partnership, let's talk about it. Customer centricity, which we have defined at Booking.com as both sides of the marketplace, both the traveler and the partner.
Yep.
Let's just start off with, what do you think the relationship is with your partners today?
Okay. Well, look, I think it's improved significantly. I think it's good. I think the numbers, which I talked earlier, these numbers don't come from us. It comes from being together and working together. But I know it can always get better. I know that. It's something you can't just rest on. You can't say, it's great, no problem. It's a little bit like a marriage. You can't just take the other person for granted. I know that. I'm going to be married 25 years in October, and I know I think it's a good marriage. But again,
we'll get her on stage next.
Let's not do that. You can't just say, okay, it's all great, so I'm not going to pay attention to. You have to pay attention, and you have to listen, and you have to then you can't just listen and then walk away. You got to listen and act, and that's what I'll make sure that we're doing even more of.
So, do you have any examples in particular around how we're working to strengthen that?
Yeah, I'll give you an interesting. So I'd say, look, working together, we can get more business, and so one of our programs, the one I really, really love, our Genius program, which I think is one of the best things possible out there. It's a win-win for everybody. It's all great. But here's the thing, it's not everybody. And we found this out because I know what's really important is incremental business to you, not stuff you may have gotten anyway. And in the Genius program, some of our account people said, well, let's see. Is it good? Or are we really doing something incremental? And what's interesting is we found out that there are some partners who were not getting the incrementality. And what the account manager did is they said to the people at the partner, they said, listen, that Genius program, it's not working for you. And you're actually losing revenue. You would be better off if you don't use Genius right now. That cost us. We make less because of that. But we believe for the long term, it's better to create a trust relationship by telling you something that we know is better for you, and we hope you understand by the fact that it is a hit to us, that you recognize we really are trying to work what's best for us together in the long run.
Great, thanks. Well, that's it for my questions, because I definitely wanted to spend some time on the questions that we have coming in from our audience here.
Okay.
So I'm just going to take them by how I see them. First one that I have here is around fraud and cybercrime. What is Booking.com doing to better protect and even prevent fraud and cybercrime? I think there's actually been Booking.com in the media at some points around these things.
Yeah, no, it's a really big problem. Cybersecurity is something that is incredibly important to us. It's incredibly important to you. And doing all the things that we should be doing. I mean, the example that you're mentioning, by the way, which has been going around a bit, I mean, it's one of those things that happens, unfortunately, because people aren't doing basic good hygiene of don't give away your password to somebody. Now, what happened in the example you're giving is that social engineering by some of these fraudster criminal types is they convinced a hotelier's employee to hand over the password to the connection. It's like, my God, don't do that. But that happens. So we're coming up with how can we do it to better come up with systems to try it. Okay, people are going to make mistakes. How can we do things knowing that people perhaps will make mistakes to get better? We're going to continue to work on that because it really is important, not only to you, not only to me, but it's really important to the customers because they want to feel certain that when they give their personal information, that it is safe.
Yeah.
And we have to do that.
Yeah. I think that Spencer Mott, our Chief Security Officer, was actually here yesterday or today, I believe.
And he talked about this?
Yeah, no, not on stage, I don't think yet, but I do know he's around in breakout sessions, so if people have questions for that.
Absolutely. But I really want to stress this. I know it's costly sometimes to do these things, but it's more costly in the long run if you have a breach. So please, we all have to work together, and we have to do things that are just the basics of keeping security up so that our customers are able to do things online with a sense of safety.
Great. Let me move on to the next question. What are you doing to invest and improve in customer service? Goes on to say, at times it feels like your representatives are more interested in clearing tickets than really trying to understand and address my specific issues.
Yeah, and I know that because I get that customer service complaint directly to me after the agent has not created well. I know not every single issue is going to be resolved immediately, and we can always do better. And as part of trying to be more and more customer centric, I want to make sure that we are doing things rapidly, correcting things, not just rapidly. I did it and it's gone, but it didn't solve the problem. We've devoted a tremendous amount of resources, investment. We have a whole new system that's been we're rolling it out now, the Pegasus thing. Look, I know that, especially last summer, as I talked about, it was horrific. Travel was very difficult, particularly for air travelers. And I've had the problems myself. I had a terrible Christmas trip that was a disaster, and I tried to deal with some customer service people. And, I understand that weather can impact things, but how about just talk to me like a human being and be nice and not, obnoxious, but they're stressed and other people are stressed. I do know, though, that when you look at any of the surveys, customer service is what in the long run really builds loyalty. So all of us together have to work better at it.
Great. Next question from Augustin. What is the biggest challenge you expect to overcome this year?
biggest challenge
Yeah.
to overcome, and they're talking business, right?
I mean, we got time.
Let's stick to business. We have, obviously, the North Star that I talk about, the connected trip. Very important for us because I believe it'll provide a better way to travel. But something that started in November that really, some people say it came out of the blue. It didn't come out of the blue at all. It's been being developed for years and years, and we've been working with artificial intelligence for over a decade and helping make our systems better, our way we do business better. And the idea of neural networks, these large language models, what they're built on is something that literally started in the 1950s. But now, for many people, it seemed to come out of the blue, this chat GPT. And now there are many others. There are coming out. Maybe some of you have been working with some of the ones from Google. Maybe you've been working with what Google, Amazon's doing. Meta has lots of different places. And they're all going to be coming out more and more. And now the challenge, because I knew it was coming, but I didn't know it was going to come the way it did so fast. And it is remarkable. And my challenge is figuring out how can we best use these technologies to make travel better, at the same time make sure we don't do something that is dangerous or bad or biased unfairly. There's so many elements that we're all going to have to deal with this whole new world. I mean, and I was just talking with James Waters. James Waters, runs all of our accommodations. James and I were on the phone. I said, this is sort of a Cambrian explosion of new things. And James, because he's, I think, an anthropologist, yes, because there are a lot of dead ends too. So we're going to make things, we're going to try things that are going to go down a dead end. It's not going to work. We're going to try other things that will then evolve into more things. And all of us are going to have to work with this. And I'm certain that as much as I am like trying to think, how are we going to do it? I'll bet you're thinking the same thing.
Yep. Yeah, there's loads of questions, by the way, that I've just seen trying to keep up with them around AI and artificial intelligence. And so it's good to hear that Booking.com is already thinking about that and on it.
We've been thinking about it, for a while, but it's just so much. Things are happening so much faster.
Yep. Are there any changes coming to your review system?
Well, we've had some changes in the review system, in the past. We had some, again, talking to partners, and there were some suggestions about, hey, there's some problems here, and we've come up with, people aren't putting in anonymous reviews. Look, one of the things I love about our review system is that you can't put one in if you haven't actually stayed at the property, unlike some other systems. That's problematic. So we definitely want to continue to work on that. And by the way, and this is, again, the issue of this artificial intelligence thing, is when somebody would type into a chatbot AI thing, it says, I need a property in a city, and it's going to come back with some suggestions. Is that going to have any basis on all the reviews? From whom? How? Where? In our system, the great thing is people come to Booking.com, they can go through and see all these reviews by the different people and the detail of what they said. It's not a summary that comes up in just 2 paragraphs. Oh, here's some hotels to stay at. My fear is that what is an incredibly valuable tool may be shortcut by convenience of just typing in, and then people end up being steered the wrong way.
Yep. Another question. What is your number one promise to Booking.com partners?
My number one promise is that I can't promise that we're going to be able to always provide you with more business. I can promise that we will do our best to work together to come up with ways to try to bring you more business. That is the promise.
Great. I mean, I hate to follow it up with this one, but any chance of lowering commissions anytime soon? It's not me.
You control that. Just saying. All right, so here's the thing. Look, everyone wants to pay a lower price. When I'm looking for where I'm going to stay at a place, I want to pay less. When I look for my airline, I want to pay less. In a business, for us, we'd like to pay our vendors less. I would like to pay Google. Matt, are you here? We'd like to pay less. Matt is the senior person at Google. You know what Matt would say? He says, Glenn, it's a market. It's a market. If you want to pay less, pay less. You'll get less business, pay less. In our business, that doesn't work quite like a Google auction, but the truth is, our commission is driven by the market. That is, it is. And I say, I really truly believe it's a fair trade for the money being paid for what is given. I think it's good. And I go back and I say this to other people. I say, look, here's the deal. So we're going to take the content and translate it into 40-something different languages. We're going to put the photos up. We're going to do everything we can to work to make sure that a property is displayed a way to get business to them. And in addition, then we're going to spend a heck of a lot of money with Matt at Google, a lot of money in all different ways to try and bring demand so they can look on the content and view through all the different things. And then we will be willing to do the customer service for free. And we did all that work to put you up for free. And we will do all these things. And all we ask is if someone does book with you, we'd like to get, it averages up and down, let's say mid-teen percentage of the total amount. Now, I think that's a fair deal because if you don't get business, you don't pay anything. And by the way, and I don't know the exact number offhand, but 90-something% of the people who viewed your property for free did not book on our site. So a halo effect where they can then book some other way. So I think it's a really good deal. And by the way, if we were way out of line with other people who charge commissions, we wouldn't have any business because in a market, everyone would buy from the other ones. So I think it's a fair price. Now, I also say to somebody, if you don't think it's a fair price, if you don't think what we're charging is right, we're free people. Don't work with us. Work with the other people. And by the way, some people do that.
Yeah, well, did have a suggestion, just put it out there, that around sustainability, the more sustainable you are, the lower the commission is. But just going to say I heard that yesterday. But not going to bring it up again, because you're giving me a look.
Talk to James.
Yeah. A CEO to CEO question. How do you balance?
I just want to have it. So we had somebody said charge lower commissions.
Yes.
If what?
If your property was rated more sustainably.
I get a better idea. If you're a sustainable property, what about lowering the price? Lower the price so more people will come there and we'll have more sustainable travel and the travel will be a better place. Because that's what's really important. Us just lowering commissions is not going to increase people going to sustainable properties. That's not going to do a darn difference. We do this. We try as much as we can to promote sustainable properties. And I love what we're doing, the Travel's Sustainable Program.
Yep.
And every single person who's part of this, thank you so much. And those people who are at the highest level, thank you for doing that because we're making the world better by doing that. And that's why we have the badge and we have the filter and we try and get people to go there and buy those instead. But changing commissions will not affect the amount of volume going to sustainable properties. Everything we can do to make sustainable travel better is good for the world.
Yep. Agreed. Final question, because we're out of time. What are your big goals for the year?
Didn't we do that one earlier, our big goals for the year?
I don't know. Someone wasn't listening because I put it back in.
Okay. Look, among already talking about this, let me tell you my other goals is what I really want to do, and I said maybe I talk personal ones, right?
Yeah, sure.
I want to take a holiday because the last 3 years have been really, really hard for all of us. Let's face it. When this pandemic started in 2020, I don't know if you ever heard me, and I said, I don't know what's going to happen, but I think it's going to be years, not quarters, before things come back. And I'm disappointed that I was right because it's been so hard. That was bad. People who lost people, that was bad. And then we have a war, and some of us lost people in our Booking family. We had an employee whose husband was killed by a Russian missile. It's been a really hard 3 years. But thank God, we seem to be coming out of it. Last year's numbers were just so remarkable to see us coming back. And for everybody who hadn't traveled for a long time and you did travel, just that feeling, that wonderful feeling of traveling, and maybe you hadn't seen a family member for a long time, it was so good. And I hope it keeps on going that way. And I think it will. And in the long run, it will. Maybe we'll have a little economic, who knows? But I think we've learned how to do things better. And I just want to end by just thanking everybody, because again, this wouldn't have happened without all of us working together to do something better. And I do believe our mission is to make it easier for everybody to travel the world. And I believe travel is good. I believe in what Mark Twain said in his book. He wrote this over 100 years ago. He's talking, he traveled to, then it was called the Holy Land. Imagine that, traveling from the US to the Middle East on a boat for, what incredible. And he gets there and he comes back, he writes a book. And he says, travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and ignorance. And I believe that. I believe us, by helping promote travel, we're helping promote better understanding among different people. And maybe the world will be a better place. Thank you.
Perfect ending. Thank you so much. And thanks to all of you.